Irish republicanism is an ideology based on the belief that all of Ireland should be an independent republic. The development of nationalist and democratic sentiment throughout Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries was reflected in Ireland in the emergence of republicanism, in opposition to British rule. This followed hundreds of years of British conquest and Irish resistance through rebellion, discrimination against Catholics and nonconformists, attempts by the British administration to suppress Irish culture, and the belief that Ireland was economically disadvantaged as a result of the Act of Union were among the specific factors leading to such opposition. The Society of United Irishmen, formed in the 1780s and led primarily by liberal Protestants, evolved into a revolutionary republican organization. Inspired by the American Revolution and allied with revolutionary France, it launched the 1798 rebellion with the help of French troops. The rebellion had some success, especially in County Wexford, before it was suppressed. A second rising in 1803, led by Robert Emmet, was quickly put down, and Emmet was hanged. The Young Ireland movement, formed in the 1830s, was initially a part of the Repeal Association of Daniel O'Connell, but broke with O'Connell on the issue of the legitimacy of the use of violence. Primarily a political and cultural organization, some members of Young Ireland staged an abortive rising, the Young Ireland Rebellion of 1848. Its leaders were transported to Van Diemen's Land. Some of these escaped to the United States, where they linked up with other Irish exiles to form the Fenian Brotherhood, together with the Irish Republican Brotherhood, founded in Ireland by James Stephens and others in 1858. They made up a movement commonly known as Fenians, which was dedicated to the overthrow of British imperial rule in Ireland. They staged another rising, the Fenian Rising, in 1867, and a dynamite campaign in Great Britain in the 1880s. In the early 20th century, IRB members, in particular Tom Clark and Sean McDermott, began planning another rising. The Easter Rising took place from 24 to the 30th of April 1916, when members of the Irish Volunteers and Irish Citizen Army seized the centre of Dublin, proclaimed a republic and held off British forces for almost a week. The execution of the Rising's leaders, including Clark, McDermott, Patrick Pearse and James Connolly, led to a surge of support for republicanism in Ireland. In 1917, the Sinn Féin party stated as its aim the securing the international recognition of Ireland as an independent Irish republic, and in the general election of 1918 Sinn Féin took 73 of the 105 Irish seats in the British House of Commons. The elected members did not take the seats but instead set up the first Dáil. Between 1919 and 1921 the Irish Republican Army, who were loyal to the Dáil, fought the British Army and Royal Irish Constabulary in the Irish War of Independence. Talks between the British and Irish in late 1921 led to a treaty, by which the British conceded, not a 32-county Irish republic, but a 26-county Irish Free State with Dominion status. The Free State became an independent constitutional monarchy following the Balfour Declaration of 1926 and the Statute of Westminster 1931, and formally became a republic with the passage of the Republic of Ireland Act 1948. That same year, the Republican movement took the decision to focus on Northern Ireland thereafter. The Border Campaign, which lasted from 1956 to 1962, involved bombings and attacks on Royal Ulster Constabulary barracks. The failure of this campaign led the Republican leadership to concentrate on political action, and to move to the left. Following the outbreak of the Troubles in 1968-9, the movement split between officials and provisionals at the beginning of 1970. Both sides were initially involved in an armed campaign against the British state, but the officials gradually moved into mainstream politics after the official Irish ceasefire of 1972. The associated, official Sinn Féin, eventually renamed itself the Workers' Party. The Provisional IRA, except during brief ceasefires in 1972 and 1975, kept up a campaign of violence for nearly 30 years, directed against security forces and civilian targets. While the Social Democratic and Labour Party represented the nationalists of Northern Ireland in initiatives such as the 1973 Sunningdale Agreement, Republicans took no part in these, believing that a withdrawal of British troops and a commitment to a united Ireland was a necessary precondition of any settlement. This began to change with a landmark speech by Danny Morrison in 1981, advocating what became known as the Armorite and ballot box strategy. Under the leadership of Gerry Adams, Sinn Féin began to focus on the search for a political settlement. When the party voted in 1986 to take seats in legislative bodies within Ireland, there was a walkout of die-hard Republicans, who set up Republican Sinn Féin and the Continuity IRA. Following the Hume Adams dialogue, Sinn Féin took part in the Northern Ireland peace process, which led to the IRA ceasefires of 1994 and 1997 and the Good Friday Agreement of 1998. After elections to the Northern Ireland Assembly, Republicans sat in government in Northern Ireland for the first time when Martin McGuinness and Barbara de Brún were elected to the Northern Ireland Executive. However, another split occurred, with anti-agreement Republicans setting up the 32-county sovereignty movement and the Real IRA. Today, Irish republicanism is divided between those who support the institutions set up under the Good Friday Agreement and the later St. Andrews Agreement, and those who oppose them. The latter are often referred to as dissident Republicans.